Today's speaker, Nora Radest, who is the mayor of Summit, has been an active volunteer in Summit for over 25 years. After moving to Summit in 1989, she quickly became involved in PTO activities, ultimately serving on the PTA/PTO Legislative Committee. In '95, Nora was a founding member of Speak Up Summit, an advocacy group for the Summit Public Schools, and served as its president. Nora was a member of the Board of Education from '97 to 2002, serving as the president for the '98-'99 academic year. In that year, the Board of Education approved $13 million renovation and expansion of Summit High School. Nora was a member of the Board of Trustees of the Summit Educational Foundation from 2004 to 2012, and served as president from 2008 to 2011. Along with a group of dedicated volunteers, she spearheaded the establishment of an endowment fund for the Summit Educational Foundation. This was and still is one of the few public school endowments in the state. Nora currently serves on the boards of the Connection and the PEP Foundation, and is a member of the Connecticut College Parents Council. Nora graduated with a Bachelor of Arts from Bodine College and received a JD from Fordham Law School. She practiced law in the area of commercial real estate. So it is really my distinct pleasure to ask Mayor Nora to step up and talk about the Summit Master Plan process and Summit activities.
I was very interested as I was sitting, watching, and listening to what you were saying before we got going here. What a wonderful community that you have. Clearly, you meet weekly. You want to know what's going on with each other's lives. You travel, you fish, you play bocce. I just think it's a great organization, and I'm very pleased to be able to be here with you today. Made me think that what you're doing here on a very small scale is what we're trying to do in Summit, which is increase the connections among our members in the community. We're really, we have a lot of great attributes, and individually, Summit has wonderful people. But together, we can accomplish so much more and enjoy each other and enjoy all the things that we can bring to the table. Okay. There we go. Is that good? Okay. So when Mike and I spoke, we talked about one of the things that I will be discussing was the master plan that's going on in Summit. And I will do that, but it was unfortunately advertised as a discussion of everything that we have decided and what the plan actually is going to be. That's not the case. We will not be having our first public meeting to talk about the first draft until September 13th. So I can't get into that today, but I can at length discuss the process, and this has been a very different master plan process than we have undergone in the past. And I can tell you what some of the highlights are, some of the trends that we're hearing from the members of the community, but I'll get into that in a minute. It sort of have three parts to my conversation with you today. First is communication, and the ways that we are trying to reach out to everyone in the community and have them find ways to reach out to us that are acceptable and interesting and the most user-friendly for everyone. Not everyone wants to get their information in the same way. Some people want to get a letter in the mail. They want to read the newspapers when we can find newspapers that are local. Or they want to go onto the website. Or sometimes people want to use social media. So we are approaching things in a different way. When I was walking around campaigning, it was incredibly apparent to me that people want to be listened to. They want to have access. So I have office hours in City Hall on Monday evenings from 6 to 7:30, and on Wednesday mornings from 9, and Thursday mornings from 9 to 11. I'm often there longer than that, and I'm always available by appointment. And then once a month, I set up shop, if you will, at various cafes or diners in Summit for about 2 hours. We send out information regarding when I'll be there, and people can just come and talk about whatever it is they want to discuss. And usually I get 4 or 5 people. that come by. So that's interesting. I learn a lot, and then they share the word, spread the word with their friends. So that's information is always on the website, and we send it out when their city bulletins. We want to create a myriad of options for people to get their information and to connect up with us. So I'll go through a bunch of these, but we have the city website, there's social media platforms, which quite frankly, I dabble in Facebook because that's where a lot of people are. I don't really use Twitter and YouTube very much, but I need to be better at that because I've had constituents say, how come you don't have a Twitter feed, or how come you don't put your videos on YouTube? So that's on my list of things to do next year. We also have SwiftReach, Nixle, Nextdoor, SeeClickFix, and CoUrbanize, all of which are online platforms, and I'll talk about each one of them in a minute. In March of 2016, we launched our new website. It was over a year's worth of work in trying to determine what kind of platform to use, what do we want in the website. Every single department was involved in talking with the information office and the website search committee to what do they want, what does the police department need, what do they want, how do they want people to be able to reach the police department, what are the notices they want to send out. And that was the same thing that's true with every other department. We, like you, have a technology group. The city has a technology advisory committee that is made up of members of the community who are involved in the technology industry, whether it be sales or coding or manufacturing. They meet monthly, and it's a great resource for the city because they come to us with good ideas, but we also can turn to them and say, what do you think about this? So when the website was nearing its launch date, we had many of the people from the Technology Advisory Committee come in and go do a usability test with us and really show us that some of the things that we were doing that were right and ways that we could improve the website. And they are still continuing to give us information. We also invited various and sundry members of the community to come in and do a usability test. Folks that use the computer all the time, folks that use it very rarely. One woman doesn't use it a whole lot, but she always is searching for information, and so she really helped us streamline and make the search feature much more user-friendly. I said SeeClickFix. That's a new innovation on the website, and it's on the website itself. It says report a concern. If you click on there, that button, you can put in what problem you've noticed, whether it's a sidewalk crack, a tree limb falling down, potholes, anything, and you can write the information down, input it. It goes to the appropriate department in City Hall, and then they get back and respond. And they've been responding like that usually within 48 hours to fix someone on my street reported some potholes on a Wednesday, and they were all fixed by Friday morning. So now I don't know if they knew that was my street. But I will say that back as Amy Cairns knows, back in March, unfortunately, I stepped in a pothole and in the city and broke my left foot, and it was fine. I'm walking around. It's a small fracture, but that happened. I got to work Monday morning, and that pothole was fixed by the end of the day. So I guess there is some hope. These are two other emergency communication vehicles. SwiftReach is the official city notification for serious alerts, Amber Alerts. It'll be a recorded message from the mayor or someone in the city regarding a snowstorm or something that's really important and a serious emergency. We want people to listen when they sign up for SwiftReach. We don't want people ignoring them, so that's why we also have Nixle, which is just for the police, and that talks about road closures or maybe there might be some slight flooding in the road. So those are serious, but they don't reach the level of SwiftReach. But I would encourage anyone who lives in Summit, if you haven't signed up for these, you can. Also on the website, there's a click for notifications, and if you sign up for that, you can get email notifications of everything that's going on in the city, and you can specify what kind of information you'd like to get. As for social media, as I said, I have a Facebook page, so does the city. I try to put videos up at least weekly talking about what's going on in the city. Right now, it's the downtown construction, which is a hardship during the night for the people that are living downtown on the apartments upstairs. I mean, I feel for them, but if we're doing construction in the middle of the road, in the middle of the night, in the city, we have to do it in the middle of the night. As I said, I will be getting to do something with Twitter and YouTube, but that wasn't high on my priority list, to be honest. Next door is a new application that we have just launched with the city, with the police department. It sets up neighborhood, I want to say like block party groups, if you will. So I live on Blackburn Place, and there's a Blackburn Place, which is 2 blocks long. There's a Blackburn Place neighborhood. And you can do things like post, I'm looking for a good carpenter. Let's have a block party. Does anybody know, who's a good painter? Our cat is missing. Things like that. And it's just, the whole purpose is to bring neighbors closer together. And already on my neighborhood, about 20 people have signed up for this. Then it can also be used for serious things like the police, like something is missing. There have been, so at number 18 had a break-in last night. Or there was something was stolen from someone's car. So it's just another way to kind of connect individuals, and that's our whole goal. So, the master plan. The master plan is a state-mandated process. Our master plan was first done in the major one was in 2000. It was revised in 2006. So here we are in 2016. State law requires that you revise your master plan every 10 years. And if you don't, there can be serious consequences. Developers can, in fact, say, well, you don't have a revised update master plan, so your zoning is irrelevant. So that's not going to happen in Summit because we will be done by our deadline in November. We decided to take a different approach this year. And typically, the way the master plan has been revised in the past, you get maybe 20, 30, 40 people together, and they meet multiple times. We have the community is involved in situations in meeting rooms like this. Everybody comes up to the microphone, shares their thoughts and concerns. And frankly, sometimes what occurs is that everybody starts talking about the same things, and we don't get as broad a reach of the various topics that can affect people and that people are concerned about in the community. So we hired a planning company called Topology, and we're taking a much more inclusive approach. We have set up 7 subcommittees ranging from land use, economic development, housing, transportation and circulation, downtown economic viability, and parks and green space. These committees, with about 10 people or so on each committee, 10 to 12, they've met 2 or 3 times over the summer. They're for hours at a time, particularly land use and economic development. We had a meeting in the spring at the Elks Club where over 150 people attended, and there were very few chairs. There were all kinds of stations all over the place where people could walk around and pinpoint where they think is a problem area in town regarding traffic. Or we had displays of 15 different types of developments that could occur, what kind of buildings, and people were there were all kinds of given sticky notes to put up there. I like this one, I hate this one, and then why. So the data that was gathered, that went on for 2.5 hours. The data that was gathered that night was really pretty impressive. All of that and all of the minutes from all of these subcommittee meetings are located on the website, the City of Summit website, under the master plan page, so that everything is there for everybody to get involved with. Our next public meeting, as I said before, is September 13th at the Connection at 7:30 at night, and everyone is more than welcome to attend. We're trying very hard to get as much information from everyone as we can. So one of the other ways, and we've done this, let me go back to say, so we're meeting, in addition to these subcommittee meetings, we have met with many social service organizations in town and nonprofits. So for instance, we've met with Summit Downtown Inc., the Chamber of Commerce. We've met with individuals from Celgene. We've met with the Y, the Connection, and various property owners, developers, brokers. I haven't been doing all this, but the planning people have, and various members of the subcommittee. All of this information will be shared at the September 13th meeting. There's another approach, another aspect of way we're trying to get information is called Co-Urbanize. Co-Urbanize is you can find it on our website, or you can also download the app. It's courb.co/summit. And it's an opportunity for people to share their comments and thoughts about what they think we should be focusing on in Summit. If I want to get to that, here we go. So this is what the COERB looks like, and at one front page. So this topic, for instance, is sidewalks. And people can go in here. This guy says, sidewalks are needed on Woodland Avenue between Bedford and Canoe Parkway. There is appreciable pedestrian traffic throughout the day and early evening. So he's talking about up here on Woodland Avenue. Now that you can see that green circle says that 12 people have made comments about sidewalks on Woodland Avenue. And it's all kinds of topics, from sidewalks to traffic to density in your houses to how trees are cut down. It's on and on. We've heard from, we started in June and we are up to 450 comments that people are sharing their thoughts and concerns. So you can either download this app called COERB, or you can also access this by the city website. And then because we are so concerned that everybody have an opportunity to let us know what they're doing, and not everyone's on the internet, we created these cards that says we want to hear from you, and what are 3 things that you think that are essential to the City of Summit Master Plan. And we've placed these, we stamped them, they're addressed to the City of Summit, and we've placed these in piles at the Connection, at the Y, at the library, at all kinds of places, at the community center on Morris Avenue. And we've been getting these back from people that just, they don't want to access the internet, but they do want to let us know what they're thinking about. So far, the comments that we're getting, that people really believe that the vital downtown is the heart of our community and the reason people move here. Certainly is a main reason. Obviously, another one, of course, is location and our schools. But so that's something we have to discuss. There are many people who feel that we should increase the amount of housing available downtown for people that want to downsize and still stay in town or walk to town, or people that are younger people, that are millennials who are coming in who don't want to buy cars and are not ready to buy a house yet, but they do want to walk to the train station. But yet, it's important while we do that, if we increase that kind of density, we recognize we don't want to make downtown too crowded. We also have to be careful to have buffer zones to the other residential neighborhoods. But that has certainly come through as one of the things that more people living downtown, increasing the residential density would create more activity downtown. So the Economic Development Committee has several different suggestions as to how to improve the vitality of the downtown. The second most talked about priority across the board for all the committees is increased safe walking and biking routes, and adding sidewalks to areas in the downtown, and so that it creates a better link to the schools and to the downtown. People want more entertainment options, such as a movie theater. Another people brought up a bowling alley, something like that. Things for the teenagers and other folks to do. And then parking. Parking is a perennial issue in downtown, and we need to address that. You have to look at parking globally. I mean, in 20 years, a lot of people won't be using cars. They'll be using Uber. We have to think carefully about, do you build a freestanding parking garage when maybe the need for such a structure down the road is not essential. So that's being addressed and looked at, but it clearly people recognize that parking is a continued issue. So what else is going on? Couple different initiatives. One is called Street Smart, and that is a program that we are working on with the police department and a company called Transoption. Transoption gave the city police department a grant. This is focusing particularly on distracted driving and pedestrian safety. So, I mean, it'll be starting. We're having a press conference on September 6th, and it will start on the following day on 7th and 8th. There will be warnings to people. So part of the grant is increased money for police activity on the streets downtown. We have 70 posters that are going to be placed all over town. Watch pedestrians in the walkways. One of my favorite is heads up, phone down. And not just to drivers, but pedestrians who are crossing the street. So, and other signs, there are 5 different types of signs, other signs that are encouraging pedestrians to look up and watch where they're walking. So the first week, the police will be giving warnings to people. And the second week, which is the first week of school, they were going to start ticketing in a pretty significant way for about a month. We've done surveys. We sent out surveys on all over the community to find out what people know about in terms of pedestrian safety. Do they know what the law is? Do they know that do you have to wait until somebody's completely out of the crosswalk before you turn? Or can you go when they're just out of your way? So we've done that survey, and the program will go on for about a month, and then we do a follow-up survey to see if there's any increase in education. And that's the goal here. Now, there are some folks who are a little concerned that people will be annoyed with being ticketed. As far as I'm concerned, we need to be safe. Summit ranks from 2013 to 2015. Summit ranked 9th in Union County for pedestrian accidents, and I think that it's getting worse and worse, particularly with the cell phones. And it's not so much with the the car phones anymore, right? Because pretty much everybody has a car that you've got the Bluetooth. That seems to be the thing, but it's the cell phones, both among walkers and drivers. And so that's going to be a focus in September. You might hear good things about it. You might hear annoyed people, but it is what it is. Seal Power is a company that's doing home energy audits, and the city contracted with them about a year ago to do a home energy audit in the residence to the cost of $45. It typically costs between $200 and $300. And you go, and they'll do your audit, and tell you what you can, how you can improve your house, and then there are all kinds of savings through grants and loans if you go ahead and decide to do the work. There's no reason that you have to do the work. It's just information for you. So I sent out a letter. I wrote a letter for the Seal Power folks to distribute to everyone in the community. They've not sent them to everyone yet, because if they sent out 5,000 letters, they'd be inundated, wouldn't be able to follow up. So they have, as of Saturday, they've done their 100th assessment in Summit, and there are another 50 that are scheduled to be done. I did one, and Hometown TV filmed it at my house as they were doing it, so that we could try to show people that it's not an invasive or difficult process. But it's very helpful, and a lot of people have made some improvements to improve their energy savings. Uber ride sharing. The city is going to vote on a contract on Tuesday, September 6th, to have Uber as a partial parking solution. It's the first time Uber has done this in any city in the country. So currently, if you park in Summit as a commuter, you leave your home, you drive downtown, you park your car, you get off the train that night, you take your car out. So that car has been taking up the space in the garage all day, and it costs $4 for the resident. What we're going to do with Uber, Uber will pick you up in the morning, bring you to the train station, and bring you back to your home, and it will still cost $4. The city will then subsidize that, and that will hopefully open up to 100 parking spaces, who will be parking and paying an additional amount. So it will hopefully open up parking for shoppers, for other residents, and we're excited about this. Hopefully the council will approve this on September 6th, and we can roll this out in October. Just is a pilot. We don't know if it's going to work or not, but we're optimistic. Last winter, over Christmas, 10 days around the holidays, we had an Uber ride share program where for $5, Uber could pick you up in your home, take you anywhere in Summit, and bring you back. It was widely used. I think a lot of the people that used it were millennials and maybe even college students, but we had 0 DWIs in that period of time, compared to at least 3 or 4 in prior years. So that was kind of an interesting, and that was successful. So we'll see how this goes. And then lastly, I hope that many of you are aware of the new community center that's going to be built at 100 Morris Avenue. It's a $5.4 million project, of which 1.2 was raised by community private funds. One of the big jewels of that community center, it will be the new senior lounge. It'll have comfortable places to sit and play cards. There'll be a little cafe, there'll be sofas, there's a fireplace, just a much more warm and welcoming place for our seniors to gather. Because as it is now, by 2:45, if you've ever been down there during the day, at 2:45, the seniors have to vacate that room because the kids coming in from all the other programs need that room. And I was actually appalled that a lot of the chairs in the current senior lounge don't even have arms on them. So it's not even that easy to get up and down out of the chairs. So that'll be improved, and they'll be adding the current gym that is there is not regulation size. It's very small. No work has been done on that building since 1954. They have plastic on the windows to keep it somewhat insulated in the winter, and they have 2 standalone heaters, that industrial size heaters. And if you play basketball, you bang into the sidewalls because there's this much space between the edge of the court. So they're going to renovate that. That'll be used for so many of the programs that are there. There are hundreds and hundreds of children that use that facility. Some of them are for the children that have special needs, and they have programs there all the time. They come from all over the area, not just Summit, for those special needs programs that run from educational to athletic to artistic kind of, and in the music and the arts games. And then the third part of the building is a full-size gym. So hopefully they'll be breaking ground on that shortly, but it's very exciting, and I'm particularly excited about the senior lounge. What else is going on? Right now, you've seen some of the work that's been done on Springfield Avenue and all of the end of the beautification project. But what's been happening at night, we've been digging down the middle of Springfield Avenue and the side streets, Summit, Maple, Woodland and Beechwood, a conduit where we will be able in the future to run fiber optic cable, which is really important. Gigabyte speed internet is where businesses are going. And by putting this conduit in now, when we're going to repave the roads, just seemed to make the most amount of sense, rather than pave the roads and then 5 years from now decide we need to run a conduit. So that's what we're doing. We don't have anything organized yet or negotiated yet with the fiber optic company, but we will, and we have the capability to do that. Environmental initiatives right now in Summit, the Rails to Trails project. The Trails project has been done, we're working on it over by the transfer station. And the Summit Free Market building, we're fully funded at this point. They're in the pre-construction stage, and we should be getting that built up pretty quickly. And then I'm sure you may or may not know about the free market, but it happens in the spring and the fall for 2 weekends. People bring items that they don't want, and they take items that they think they could use, and it's particularly helpful for a lot of people. But I've seen young families coming in there and depositing the tricycles and the bikes that are no longer used, and then within minutes you've got a different young family that's coming and taking that whole thing. So it's just a great way to recycle and reuse, and it certainly helps the members of our community who, quite frankly, are not as wealthy as others. And we need to understand that Summit, while it's an affluent society and a community, we do have 16% of the children that go to the Summit Public Schools are eligible for free or reduced lunch, which is it's a federal number. So a family of 4, that number is $27,000 a year. And I defy anyone to understand how you live on $27,000 a year at Summit. So I think it's a great opportunity, the free market, for people to be able to help themselves and get what they need for free. But now once we get that building, it'll take place in the free market building, and then the upper level is environmental educational programs that will take place up there. People will be able to use that facility. Just the way the Summit Volunteer First Aid Squad is a great building, and the upstairs room, they offer members of the community to use that room for all sorts of things. We held one of the master plan subcommittee meetings up there, and there were about 45, 50 people. It was a great place, and so we need to be sharing these spaces we have. The park line is, you might have heard about it. It is something that is a very long-term project. It would run from down in East Summit, beyond Bryant Park, passing on the edge of Celgene through Overlook Hospital and ending on Broad Street, a little south of the Salerno-Duane property. That will be fully funded by private funds, so by understandably it will take a while to get going. And we also have to make sure that everybody who lives in the surrounding communities are in favor of having this built out. That's one of the reasons the High Line in New York City is so popular. It was a grassroots effort, and that's what the people in the community wanted. So it's just in case you heard about it, it's a long-term project, and it has great possibilities, but we have to be very careful of how we find the money and how we build it. Sustainable Jersey, that's an ongoing initiative that we have achieved the Champion Silver Level Award, which just basically is what the state is looking at, is what kind of things are you doing? So the free market, the Trails Project, the Seal Power Energy Audit, all of these things give us points, and it raises our awareness and our level of activity at the state level. And then lastly, the parklet, that's just those, I don't know if you've noticed on Springfield Avenue, there's 2 spots in front of, between Summit Avenue and Beechwood. We took 2 parking spaces and bumped out, and it's a sitting area, it's public space. You don't have to buy anything in any of the surrounding stores in order to sit there. It's just a way to try to create some more vitality, make downtown a little more interesting, make it something that's different from the mall or online. Our schools, generally, as I said, a lot of people move to Summit for the schools. We have a high percentage rate of students that graduate from the high school, 97%. 86% remain in 4-year colleges 16 months after graduation, which I think is a really great statistic, because too many times you look at these stats and they say 97% graduate, or 92% attend or go to a 4-year college. Well, how many stay for a year and a half? Because they're the ones that are going to graduate, not the ones that just start off. They've hired 32 new teachers this year. All in, there are 770 staff members in the schools, and that includes custodians, teachers, administrators, and then part-time special ed people and so forth. We ranked number 18 in New Jersey Monthly. I think we went up maybe 6 or 7 spots, and ranked number 76 on the Newsweek's top 10. And I'm very proud of those numbers, because we do have such a diverse community, and that's self-explanatory. The police department is focusing on police team building. We do a lot of community policing. Our current chief of police, Bob Weck, takes very seriously the importance of the policemen on patrol, meeting them, knowing the community, and basically preempting issues before they get to a serious point. They did a crash simulation at the high school for 2 days this past May. That was really powerful. Students were removed from their classrooms, and because they had been in this crash and they were deemed to be dead by the other students, it went on a 2-day period, and then parents got involved, and they did a movie of this. Apparently it was incredibly successful. It was for the juniors and seniors. They'll do it again in 2 years always do it junior, senior year, so that kids get to roll through it. They do a youth academy for 1 week at the police department, and I think there were 22 graduates this year. And I went to the graduation. These children were so excited. They're mostly 5th and 6th graders. And they wanted to be involved. And we have members of the police department now that attended the police youth academy many years ago. The DARE program is the drug and alcohol outreach at schools. And we have a very strong team of community policing, and I think that goes a long way to helping explain why we have a pretty decent relationship. There's a lot of problems in this nation, as we all know, between police and members of the community, and we're not hearing about that in Summit. I'm not saying it's perfect, of course, but for the most part, I think they have a really strong relationship with the community. Actually, one interesting thing is Chief Weck was invited by Vernon Williams, who's the Reverend at Fountain Baptist, to come down to Fountain Baptist with another one of his policemen and talk to a group of African American teenage boys, to talk to them about the relationship between police and their peers. And he said he spoke to them about how a policeman should act and how a policeman should not act. And when you're stopped, what should you do? How should you respond to the police talking to you? And what you shouldn't do. And really had a good conversation with them about what they should do if a policeman behaves badly. Apparently when they first got there, it was a little uncomfortable. The guys were sort of this. But by the end of the conversation, it apparently was quite a good give and take. And I think we need to do more and more of that. So I applaud Reverend Williams and to the chief for getting together about that. Fire department works really hard, and they do an awful lot of training. Their biggest increase in their activity this year is because of Merck moving and Celgene taking over that space. Merck had their own fire department, and they don't anymore, so it's the Summit Fire Company that is taking over. They did donate some of their equipment to Summit, so anything that was up to date and usable we took. But that adds a lot to their work. They have to be there at the Celgene West property whenever there's a closed drill, any closed work that's going on. And so they're training and learning more about what they need to do there. They constantly working on safety tips. In the next couple of years, we need to look seriously at a new firehouse in Summit. A challenge there is that to do a new firehouse, the space on which the current building is located is not large enough. So the question is, where do we move it to, and where do we find the money for that? But it needs to happen. They have just established an honor guard to be there for firemen's funerals and various public events. They were at the 4th of July event, just because it's something that adds honor and to the men who've served and women who've served in the fire department. And they have continuing ongoing outreach. One of the big things that they try to do is in a very comfortable way, go into homes where they can sense that there aren't maybe enough fire detectors or smoke detectors, and encourage these people to do what they need to do without worrying, about any repercussions they might have on how the home is being kept. They want safety first, and then legality second. So that's part of their ongoing outreach. This is my email and website and my phone number. Please feel free to call me, and I'm happy to take all kinds of questions. And thank you. Yes, more.
I think I need a mic. Thanks very much for being here. Do you have a concern about overcrowding in any of the public school facilities?
Certainly not at the elementary levels. At this point, there's plenty of room. They did renovations at both Jefferson and Franklin last year. The bubble has moved into the high school. And so, the high school's tight, but they did just establish block scheduling, which last year was tremendously successful. So now, the part of the problem was, when do these kids eat lunch? So now they have an hour at a time, and they can eat in all kinds of places in the building, and also during that hour, they do their various clubs and school activities, so then they're free after school. But I don't have a problem at the elementary. The middle school, a little bit tight. The high school will be tight for the next couple of years. And the bigger problem at the high school, frankly, is parking. It's perennial in Summit. There are combination of more kids with cars, more juniors who are older in their junior year than they used to be because of redshirting for whatever reason. So you have these kids that drive to school and the parking lot's full. And so what they were doing is parking on all the surrounding streets, and then those neighbors were not happy. So now there's 2-hour parking, so now it's being pushed further and further out. So, and parents there were people that wanted us to build a parking deck on this lower field, and the Board of Education, frankly, I think to their credit, said no, we're not spending $1 million for a parking lot. When there are 60 spaces at the Tatlock parking lot right across from Magic Fountain, and they don't want to walk there because it's too far. So if you can't walk there, you can't get $1 million parking garage. So, yes, sir.
Have you thought about making Summit Avenue? My daughter lives in Summit, we live in Chatham. And it'd be nice, like Times Square. Get rid of all the cars on Summit Avenue, make it a pedestrian walkway.
Right. Yeah.
And that's one, and the next one is, I'm sure you do sharing of information, reinventing the wheel. For example, what Summit does, what Chatham does, what others towns do, is to reinventing the wheel, sharing, synergies. Do you have a forum for that?
Okay, first of all, Summit Avenue as a pedestrian walkway. That is certainly that point has been raised several times in the master plan conversation. I'm not sure that Summit Avenue is the best venue in that it is such a thoroughfare from 24 to Morrison Broad. However, there has been conversation about periodically closing Beechwood between the train station and Springfield Avenue for events, for a concert or whatever. We are paving Beechwood in a different way to make it look a little bit more like a pedestrian plaza. The merchants would be very unhappy to hear that they're losing their parking there. But as you probably know from Times Square, when they first went in to close Times Square, the merchants were furious. You were going to lose, you aren't going to be able to park here, blah, blah, blah. Now, when Mayor de Blasio went in and wanted to reopen it to cars, the merchants were crazy. Because it turns out that their pedestrian traffic and the increasing in the amount of sales that they had with the pedestrian plaza was dramatic. So, it would take a long time, but it's something we're thinking about and discussing. I don't think that anything would happen right away, but it's change. Change is hard, and we have to be very careful about parking and recognizing the needs of our merchants. But it is something that we would think about and pursue in the future. As for forum for other communities, it's funny you say that, because we do get together with other communities through the Suburban Chamber of Commerce, and but I would like to have a mayor's forum, get together with Bruce Harris and the mayors from the surrounding towns to talk about what we're all doing, because Milburn's going through a downtown renovation right now. So yes, that is something that I said it's funny you say that, because one of the slides that we were thinking about doing for today was what's next, and one of the things for a priority for me for next year is to get the mayors together.
Yes, could you please give us an update on the Morris Avenue Bridge? It's not just a road issue. It's a major, it was cited as one of the most unsafe bridges in the state, and nothing's being done on it. I mean, lives are at risk with that until it's completed.
I understand.
Thank you.
There is nothing that can raise my blood pressure faster than the Morris Avenue Bridge issue. Nothing. So we started construction on August 11th last year, and we were on track as of the end of June to finish in the spring of 2017. As you know, the legislature and the governor could not come to terms with how to fund the Transportation Trust Fund. They knew that was going to run out in August. They've known that for years. They've chosen not to do anything about it, and on July 8th, the governor, by executive order, shut down all projects in the state of New Jersey. And he said that there would be a list of essential projects that could continue. Such a list has not yet been drafted. I have spoken in person and on the phone with all of our representatives. I'm in the process of talking with all the mayors in our community so we can send the mayors in the 21st legislative district, so we can send a letter urging them to take action, compromise, find the compromise, because this is so wrong. It is, and now school will start, and it becomes a mess over there. And it is, your people's lives are at stake. If the Common Council and the mayor did not do our jobs the way they're not doing their jobs, we'd be run out of town, and justifiably so. So I am so frustrated and angry. I'm this close to getting a big banner to put on the bridge to say, call these phone numbers to your legislators. I think I'm going to do it because, it's just not right. It's not fair. And at minimum, if you say you're going to have a list of essential projects, create the list. I'd like to tell you when it's going to get started again, but I don't know. And it's not in our control. It's up to the legislators and the governor. And as you can see right now, as it's closed down, so all of the people that were working there are either at other jobs, and a lot of those folks depend upon the summer months, these construction workers, to get them through the winter. So a lot of them are out of work, or they're on other jobs. So even if they said you can start next week, we're at least a couple of months before we can get that project up and going again. And who knows if we're not going to get necessarily the same foremen and engineers back on the job. So it's awful.
Can we have
I would encourage you to send emails and phone numbers, and letters to your legislators.
It's on our website.
And it's on our website. All the information to how to reach them is on our website.
This would be the last question, please.
The question I ask as a New Providence resident, is Summit planning to be a destination town, or is it just going to be for Summit residents only?
I want it to be a destination town because I think that Summit, well, first of all, Summit's already a destination to a certain degree. 22,000 people approximately live there. 17,000 people come into Summit every day to work who do not live in Summit. So we're already a destination. But I want us to be even more so, to open it up in the arts, to open up in other businesses. I think people should come to Summit. I don't want to be, Denville. and not that Danville's, it's a great town, but it's self-contained. And I don't want us to be self-contained. I want us to have outreach and a lot of activity with all the other communities around us.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.